Yeah, I'm here. Sorry.
Oh, hey, what's going on?
I'm here for about a half hour.
Oh, okay. So, all right. So I guess what we'll do is we'll do a half hour doing the game by game, I suppose.
Yeah.
And then I'll do like lineup builds and stuff afterwards or something like that. That's what I was going to do.
Yeah, sounds good to me.
Perfect. So you're going all 3 days. Which days are you going?
All the days actually. But I'll be popping in. I'm gonna go late some days, so I'll be able to record some days. I just don't know how it's gonna work yet. So
where are you going? You're going to
Arizona.
Phoenix, right?
Yeah, I'm flying out in a little bit. I'm also visiting my daughter out there. So
nice.
Yeah, so it's a sort of combined trip. How was your trip? How was Virginia?
Virginia was great. We did I did a double header. I went to the Virginia game against who did they play? Miami yesterday, and then a Monday night, and then I came back yesterday. I got back at like 4 or 5, and then I had tickets. A friend of mine had a thing at the St. John's DePaul game at UBS in New York. So I went like back-to-back college basketball games, which is fun. And one of the guys I saw from Virginia, he's going to probably be in the NBA next year.
Oh yeah.
I know Ryan Dunn. He's a sophomore, and he doesn't have much offense right now, but it's going to be one of those guys they speculate on, and we'll just kind of see.
Those kids from Virginia almost always end up at least being role players. They always.
And he's from Long Island originally.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and here's a little bit of here's a unique bit of trivia. So if we get to playing him in DFS in the next year or two, we might be able to get our money back from playing his brother, who was a pitcher named Justin Dunn.
Oh,
who's been like that 6K pitcher that we either attacked or try to play as a cheapo for the last couple of years. So Justin Dunn is actually Ryan Dunn's older brother. So they're counting on Ryan to save the family. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah. Oh man. All right, man. Well, you wanna jump into it?
Yeah. Let's get into this. So tonight, just so you guys know, we're going to do the live sweat because there's an 888 tonight, and I want a seat for it like last week.
Oh, if you're in for the live sweat, I'm excited because I will be able. Me and Kenny are going to be building lineups out in Arizona, so I'm going to jump on for that live sweat and maybe talk a little golf lineup builds.
No, definitely.
Yeah.
So just so you know what we're doing. So after this video, I'm going to do like my own like PGA thing. And then, like, we'll do a lineup build later tonight during the live sweat.
Nice.
That should work.
We may have to do our game during the live sweat because our guys have been pretty good so far. So I'm ready to do that. All right. So you got the first one is Cleveland and Washington, right?
First game I have is Cleveland and Washington, and as far as projections go, the only guys I'm really seeing is maybe Jared Allen. At 7,600, moderately owned. And then on the Washington side, Daniel Gafford looks kind of okay. And Kuzma, I guess Kuzma looks reasonable enough. It doesn't seem like, early game, doesn't seem like the game you really want to attack too much. But those are the pieces that I'd be interested in.
Yeah, I'm with you. I don't have anything especially different. This is a game where I don't have a ton of interest, but it is. I've been talking about this a lot lately that we really, instead of game stacking, the league is just different now with all the guys out and some of these defenses being so bad where you'll have teams where you'll have like 4 or 5 guys just absolutely crushing value. And it's usually against these Wizards type of teams or Atlanta or something like that. But nothing that on its face stands out. I think Jared Allen and Evan Mobley and Donovan Mitchell, like if you just, even Donovan Mitchell, if you ended up there and you like the rest of your, but like all of those guys and Garland, every one of them makes some sense. None of them are going to be a priority for me. Same with Washington. Can't quite get to anything. Kuzma looks pretty good as always, but and will be forgotten about, but it's a tough matchup and I'm not like in love with the play, but I certainly wouldn't mind if you got to Kuzma. But yeah, this first game is not my favorite.
All right. Toronto, Charlotte. I guess to give you a little context of the slate, at least the way I'm looking at it right now, there doesn't seem to be that much great, sub 5K value. So these 5Ks, that look good are going to show up. And this is weird. Whatever. I'm getting Nick Richards as kind of top point per dollar play on the slate, like right now, by a little bit. And then I'm getting, Not too much, honestly. On Toronto, I'm getting RJ Barrett. He's back at 6,900. He looks reasonable. I'll have to see where my builds kind of take me, but there's Pirtle, like, okay, 5,900. I mean, you like anything in this game?
Yeah, so I want to touch on Pirtle because I think this is the most interesting. Like, I think that he would project better, but his minutes. So he came back off of a long injury, played only 20 minutes, but then 2 nights later played 33, but that was because of a double overtime. But then played on the second of a back-to-back after the double overtime and played 27 minutes. If we're going based on that, 30 minutes should be well within the realm of possibility tonight. And I think he's every bit as good a player as Nick Richards is. And instead of playing Nick Richards, I would suggest PJ Washington at lower ownership at almost the exact same projection with position flexibility. So my thinking is maybe Barrett, Podol, and then on the other side, PJ Washington and Miles. I like Miles Bridges as well. I think Miles Bridges is the one that I'm sort of shocked that he's not more owned tonight. If the games are competitive, this guy's going to put up like 45 minimum like every time, I feel like. So Bridges and Washington, I think, are both solid plays. I like Podol on the other side, so maybe a little bit more interest for me on this one.
Anything on RJ Barrett or not so much?
Yeah, Barrett, Podol on the one side, Bridges and Washington on the other are my favorite way of doing it. I do want to point out that this Brandon Miller is a real thing. This is getting, he's averaging over his last whatever since LaMelo's been out almost 30 points a game in real life points. He's their rookie this year from the number 2 overall pick. He's really coming into his own, but Gordon Hayward is questionable to come back tonight. So is Cody Martin, which could cut into some of that stuff. And Cody Martin's been playing, so it's not going to make a big difference. But I do maybe it'll lower my love for Bridges a little bit. But I really like that double pairing, that Barrett, Podol, Bridges, Washington. I think feels like a nice range to be in.
All right. Atlanta and Boston. Boston, I imagine, is a pretty big favorite in this game, as they probably would be against anybody nowadays.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Don't put the shorthanded Lakers out there. Don't put the LeBron and AD-less Lakers.
Or the Pistons.
Right, the Pistons.
So Celtics, I'm getting, Porzingis and Tatum look like the plays if it stays close. I think that there might be a questionable tag on Drew Holiday that came out recently. I don't know if it's recent actually, but I guess that's something to look at. Like if he's out and then you get Pritchard, something like that, he might show up with some ownership. But aside from that, looks like just the normal guys. I mean, just if the game stays close, you're probably going to want to have Porzingis and or Tatum. Those would be my top ones. Atlanta, Kongu, I suppose, 5,700. This game doesn't seem like the type of game that is going to garner a lot of interest from you, though.
Yeah, I actually think Okongwu's projection is a little bit too low. He had a terrible start to the game the other night against the Clippers, where he literally had like 2 fantasy points like midway through the second quarter, and he ended up with 26. In this matchup against Boston, I could see him having a ceiling rebounding type of game. And it is interesting that he was, that this guy was like 80% owned the other day. And I'm just interesting to see that he's now like, you're seeing him with, why is Nick Richards a better play than him exactly? And Nick Richards is kind of sharing the position with Washington. And I don't know, just to me, I like Okongwu a little bit better. And he's my favorite play from Atlanta. I do think if they're close that could take a shot on Trey or Murray, but I'm not overly into that. I'm with you that Porzingis is my favorite, followed by Tatum, followed by Brown. But if Holiday is out, definitely Peyton Pritchard makes a lot of sense.
All right, so this next game has become very interesting in the last hour or two.
Yes.
Tyrese Maxey missed shoot-around, and according to DraftKings, he's trending in the wrong direction. But regardless of what DraftKings says, when you miss shoot-around, it's not great. And he shoots the ball a lot. So if he's going to be out, then I imagine – I mean, these are not in my projections yet. But if he's out, then you're going to get Tobias Harris, who's going to show up as a really good play. You're going to get maybe even Kelly Oubre showing up as a good play. You might get some debate over whether you want to play Patrick Beverly, guys like that. Actually, he looks pretty kind of expensive, but That's something to look for. I think Tobias Harris is probably a good play anyway. So if in fact Maxey gets ruled out, Tobias Harris is completely going to stand out. The other side, I'm getting not a weird one. I guess it's just cheap, but getting a good projection, point per dollar wise out of Klay Thompson.
Yeah.
Usually the guy I like to play. But listen, it's one of those slates where 5,500s are pretty valuable. So I'm gonna just recite what I said. I mean, he projects pretty well. He's going to show up in a decent amount of lineups. The other kind of interesting questionable tag in this game is Draymond Green. What does it say here? He's just says questionable right knee contusion. If in fact he's out, then I don't know, is Dario Saric going to start or something like that? Maybe Dario Saric is a decent play anyway. I don't know, but that's definitely something to look for.
Yeah, I just want to point out that this is the day, but the trade deadline ends tomorrow afternoon. DeJounte Murray was just downgraded to questionable. He's one of the most popular trade targets. I know it's the game before, but I just noticed it. So I just want to point out that Trae Young, those Atlanta guys may end up looking really good. And if I see guys downgraded on days like today who are in the trade deadline are possibly going to get traded, I'm going to treat them more as if they're not playing. And Maxey has nothing to do with that. Obviously, there's no way in the world you could trade Maxey, but I think that they're a 5.5 point underdog, to Golden State. I understand that Embiid is out, but a 5.5 point underdog at home makes me think that at least Vegas is assuming Maxey's sitting.
Yeah,
that's too big of a spread for Golden State really versus anybody on the road, much less a Philly team with Maxey. So I'm playing it as if Maxey's out. My top guys are Harris, Jaden Springer at 3,500, and then Kelly Oubre would be my next guy. I think you could probably find more, but that's what I've got for right now. I'm curious who ends up starting it. Beverly will come in the mix as well, but I just am not as interested in him. I'd rather go for the savings with Springer, and then the medium range with Oubre, and then Harris would be my main guys. And go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I'll tell you what's interesting is I'm looking at the timing of these games, and the Atlanta game that you just mentioned, as well as this Philadelphia news, like these are 7:30s. So if we don't get this news by say 6:55 or whatever, I'd have no problem avoiding the first two games. Nothing. We identified some okay plays in that game, but not not smash plays. So if you get a late DeJounte Murray out, you're going to want to play Bogdanovic and Trae and whoever else, right? And if you get the late news that Maxey is out, you're going to want to play, those Philly guys. So that's something to keep in mind.
Yeah, absolutely. And people are asking about Lester Quinones from Golden State. That's a value I don't mind using right now, but I have a feeling today we're going to have better things open up for us. Now, if Draymond's out, you can play Quinones a little bit more comfortably, even though I know it's a different position, just still more minutes. On the Golden State side, Klay Thompson is going to be popular because of his price. I just want to let everybody know it's still the same play it's been all year. If he makes the threes, it's great. If not, you probably end up with a 4.5x type of thing like he usually has. I just want to throw out that Jonathan Kuminga might be way overlooked. And I just don't know why we don't just play him every day. The ceiling is there. We basically, he had the one really weird game against Atlanta where he only had 26 fantasy points. But other than that, 51, 46, 44, 36, 43, 46. He's averaging out to 45 fantasy points and being projected. And not saying the projections are wrong, but what he's done lately in this current situation of what his role is, he's averaging 45 fantasy points, not 35, and he's being projected for 35. So I'm going to say that Kuminga is maybe a guy you can go out of your way to get some exposure to. And shout out to Brandon. Nice job. He won the Counter-Strike this morning, he says. Good job, man. Nice to always
I want to check that out to make sure I still can't play. I used to not be able to play Counter-Strike. I was allowed to play for a little while. I played one slate or whatever. I didn't really enjoy it, probably because I didn't know what I was watching, I guess.
Right.
And then I don't know if I'm allowed to play. I'm going to go back and check because if he's if Brandon's doing content and we can, we can project it and we can build lineups, I'm gonna take, listen, I'd like to take a shot at pretty much whatever I can do. When I was in Virginia, I played my first ever college basketball DFS slate because it's not legal in New York, but it was legal in Virginia. So yeah, I tried to get some takes, try to do whatever. I actually broke even over the days I played, which is pretty good. Right. So let's move on. I guess San Antonio, Miami. This is the last of the 7:30 games, and then you get a break till some pretty interesting 10 o'clock games. There's no good anagram for it, but I guess the value of the morning, right? Meaning like someone doesn't look that great, but because of his price, he's showing up at 30% ownership, is going to be Caleb Martin. He doesn't have that great a projection. It's like 5x, whatever.
Right.
But because of the lack of value, he's showing up at 30% ownership, and that's just the way it is. Other guys that show up, Bam looks like a decent play, but I have Wembanyama as a pretty strong priority on this slate. If you want to know the truth, the matchup isn't maybe not the greatest or whatever, but it's the guy can do it, and he's projecting pretty well. So anyway, Wembanyama from San Antonio and Caleb Martin is showing up as value now for Miami, and I have Bam is okay as well.
So I know the Heat have been worse, and there's nobody with any Q tags on their roster. But okay, you want to read into Vegas lines? Why are the Heat 8-point favorites when they would normally be 14-point favorites against San Antonio? I know they're on a back-to-back at home though. Back-to-backs, they're healthier than they've been. I just am saying, and this is one of the team that's looking to make trades the most. Just keep an eye out, okay? I'm just saying these are high variance days in the NBA. Of course, they put the 888 with the 250K on one of those days, but I would not be surprised if somebody sat. I don't know where Jimmy ended up last night, but I got him at 2% ownership and sort of playing they need to win these games. But I think he was solid again.
He smashed.
Yeah, did he? He had a nice one. Okay, great. Yeah, I've been using him a lot more. And if you look at his, even just follow his game log, they've needed to win games and he's been back. He's been much more active. His usage is up like 10%. It's not. I'm sorry, not up 10%. It's up from 20 to 29. So it's actually up higher than that. Anyway, just throwing that out there.
And to your point, like where they need him or whatever it is. I mean, he played a full 34 minutes and the game was a 26-point game.
Right. He came in the fourth quarter, even with that game.
They wanted to make sure to win that game.
Yeah, and that was because they were fighting for. That's the team that they were basically essentially tied with, and it might come down to that. Play it, whatever. Whoever won the season series. Nothing. Bam and in this game, Bam and Wembanyama stand out the most. I am shocked to see that Miami. I mentioned, to be honest, I don't remember seeing San Antonio as not a double-digit underdog to anyone but like Detroit. So I don't really understand what's happening here. But my guess is, just keep an eye out. Don't be surprised if Hero or something like that sits. Just keep an eye out. We can't do anything about it now. It's just speculation.
Well, I will tell you the truth. I mean, since they started playing him a little more, I just want to read the San Antonio's results. They started I guess it's January 15th. Lost by 10, lost by 18, won by 4, lost by 10, lost by, got blown up by 26, won by 16, won by 1, lost by 5, lost by 10, lost by 1. You know what I mean? Like they're not that bad.
Well, in all fairness, they've been on a 7-game home streak as well. So that's one thing. They haven't had to play on the road.
No, I get it. But they're really just not that bad when they're going to play Wembanyama for 30 minutes.
And also since Trey Jones became the starting lineup, yes. And Trey Jones, by the way, is in play. I just don't like taking, me, I don't like taking the point guards against Miami, but Trey Jones certainly consistently has been, 30 fantasy points basically is like the number he's always at. So I don't mind him either.
All right. So then you get a 2.5-hour break. Okay. Essentially, whatever break. You get the full results of the games in, right? Before you have to deal with this 10 o'clock. And you have this incredible combination of, number one, having Sacramento guys projecting really, really well, and a big old Q tag on Cade Cunningham. Okay. So what that means is a couple of things. Number one, if Cade Cunningham is out, you have like a pretty decent amount of blowout risk. The other thing, if Cade Cunningham is out, you have Detroit value that'll show up. On the other hand, if Cade Cunningham is in, you could maybe have a better excuse to turn this into a full game stack using Cade Cunningham. on the other side. So just to kind of just go over the Sacramento guys, I mean, De'Aaron Fox in this matchup at 8,100 seems like kind of a joke, if you want to know the truth. But then there's Malik Monk, 5,400, Herder, 55K. Obviously, Sabonis can score a billion, whether you want to play 10-1 or not. Harrison Barnes, 40S is okay, but I mean, all these guys against Detroit, I mean, rate to score a bunch of points. Is it too many points, right? So for me, if you play like more than one Sacramento, or maybe two, maybe even three, I don't know, whatever, I would definitely hope that Cade Cunningham plays so that you can play him. And that would be my analysis of this game. I think it's a key game for the slate. I think I'm going to have a good amount of this one, which means that I'm probably not going to be doing too well in that 888 for like a long time. And it also means that we're going to have a setup nicely for the live sweat at 11, hopefully.
Yeah. It's definitely going to be an attractive game. I think it's going to whittle along as the day goes along, just because there's just going to be other plays that pop up. I'm telling you, we just have it every year, every trade deadline the day before. Even if guys don't get traded, there's so many guys who end up sitting out. There's no reason to showcase anybody anymore. There's nothing like that.
Right.
Anyway, an order of interest for me, I like Malik Monk especially, and he fits a little bit the blowout angle where he comes in the early third or mid third, and then he just sort of stays on the court for most of the fourth because they're up by 20s plus, So I think Monk fits the angle very well. If I'm not playing Monk, I would play Herder. I don't feel the need to play Harrison Barnes, but I like that at least you have some swappability for late stuff. He's my least favorite of these guys.
Yep.
And then I think, I think that Sabonis is a really strong play. I think Fox at 8,100 is very reasonable, as is Keegan Murray at 5,700. So right now I'm getting to 2 or 3 of these guys. I think I'd like to just have 2 unless I get into a little bit of a stack, as you mentioned, with Cade Cunningham. And you really are hoping the game stays close, which is tough for some of these Sacramento guys, with the exception of guys like Monk and maybe to some extent Keegan Murray. But I would, so playing that same angle, I would run Asar Thompson back on the Detroit side with Monk. So that's the way I'm treating it right now. But certainly, like all the spend ups, like everything there, just feels like a game that could easily get away from them. Yeah,
Asar Thompson seems to be the other guy from Detroit. I'm not too interested in Killian Hayes coming off of his comments where he's like, I'd rather be on a better team. I'm like, okay, thanks, bro.
Yeah.
Wouldn't we all?
Right.
Yeah, you're saying something that no one else in Detroit is saying, right?
Right. What do you got? So New Orleans and then the Clippers.
Yeah, New Orleans Clippers. I have, probably a good basketball game, but the only thing that's really of interest to me is whether Zion is out. And if Zion's in, I can't imagine anybody being a good play from this game. And if Zion's out, I don't know how much. I mean, it's got to affect it, but I don't know if it really. Well, I'll put it this way: if it moves the needle, I'll know it. You know what I mean? In time for me to do something about it, I guess. Yeah. If I save like a lot of stuff for this game, and this is probably a good idea to save as much as you can, unless, like you said, that value from the 7:30 games opens up. You kind of have to do it. But aside from that, I mean, Zion, he's a late. It seems to me that they don't release Zion news until later, usually. Even so, 22 minutes in the last game. I guess that was a blowout. Whatever.
They smoked him, and the main thing was Brandon Ingram played maybe the best game of the non-crazy games. He was 16 for 21 from the floor, 8 of 11 from 3. He had 41 points and 9 assists. And honestly, it could have been a lot worse. He only played 29 minutes.
Oh my God! Look at that.
Brandon Ingram just went nuts. And
Brandon Ingram with 8 threes. When does that happen?
I know. He gets it going, man. It's
never.
Crazy. I think that Zion is more likely to play. He's been questionable the last couple of games, and he's played both of them. So I would lean towards Zion playing as of right now. I don't think they're going to trade Zion. I think Brandon Ingram is still a good tournament play. Also, you want a little narrative going back to LA, even though it's not the Lakers. Just whatever. Throw a little narrative out when I can. But I think Brandon Ingram is just with the ceiling is always a little bit interesting, and he tends to take these tough matchups really personally. Whether it's Paul George or Kawhi he's facing up against, it's going to be a tough matchup. But he can get his shot off against anybody. They probably won't put Kawhi on him much until the 4th would be my guess, and probably have George on him more before then. Kawhi's just a little better defender. They're both great defenders, obviously. I love Kawhi. I think Kawhi is like every close game, I just treat like he's going to get 50 or Harden. And I just feel like he's got a great chance at getting 50. So I'm in on the Kawhi and Ingram on this side. Priorities for me are like again, these are loose priorities. I like Podol, Barrett, Kuminga. Kuminga and Wembanyama is potentially low. Well, Wembanyama is going to have some ownership, but I think it's going to be lower than usual. But Kuminga is going to be low owned. Bridges, PJ Washington. I like Okongwu, Harris, Oubre, Springer. Speculating that Tyrese Maxey may sit. And then obviously I just have Sacramento as just a big, like a green, like it's go. I don't know which ones. Monk is my favorite, but I'm probably playing 2 at least from Sacramento in my lineup, whatever lineups I can get out there. And I landed Arizona in time to edit and everything.
Well, I'll say this. I don't know how to answer your question, Mr. Pingalori, as far as how many win tournaments hand building versus running sims. That's you know the answer. You can't know that because you don't know. People don't announce how they're building. People,
yeah,
whatever. But I will like to shout out. I posted this on Twitter and whatever. Dude, I'm sure this has happened before, like with other players and stuff.
Yeah.
I want to shout out this freaking dude. Okay, so this guy from yesterday, this Buckingham 21.
Yeah.
He took down both lotteries, like in different sports. He took down the Tuesday 20 in hockey and the fadeaway in the NBA. That's pretty ridiculous.
How about the day? Yeah, it's like the day when Osimo finally won his first. He won the millionaire thing. He won the millionaire at the $20, and he won all the basketball and hockey or whatever. Everything else.
That's true.
It was like literally like a $7 million day that he was just in first, second, third.
His optimizer was feeling it. Let's put it.
Yeah, his optimizer was on fire.
Yeah, his optimizer was in fuego. Yeah. But the thing is, I don't even know who this guy is. You know, have you ever heard of this guy, Buckingham 21?
Yeah, I've seen.
Oh, you have? Okay, I
don't know who he is. I've just seen the name before.
Okay.
But shout out to Pingalore. He's the only person. Like, look, all this stuff we do talk. You know, we're talking about all this stuff. But Pingalore was mentioned on basically every podcast I listened to this week because he was.
I saw a picture of him. Yeah, on Twitter. Yeah.
Yeah. So shout out to you, Pingalore. Even and we'll see what happens. We got one more day to see whether. Unfortunately, the Lakers are getting a little bit hot lately. Is going to probably keep LeBron in LA, but I think there was a chance at a moment. Anyway, so we have our stuff. I'm going to get out of here and get on my flight in a few minutes.
I'm going to finish this up because I want to do a lineup build.
Yeah.
And then so you can leave if you want, and I'll post it or whatever, or you can hang out, whatever it is. But so Bobby's going to try to check in as much as he can.
Yep. And good luck, everybody. Good luck, Sheets. I'll see you guys hopefully later today, but most likely I'll be in and out of Discord over the next few days, and I'm going to pop in as many live shows as I can, get all the content that I do loaded up there, and definitely I'll get all of my golf stuff up there later and all that. So good luck.
Yeah, I'm back, so I'm around pretty much this whole week. So
sweet.
We're gonna start again by just running a Sabre sim build. We're uploading all the stuff, and what I'm playing, just so you guys know, I'm going to be playing 50 in the fadeaway, and also I'm going to be putting 1 in that, like I mentioned, that 888 thing. So we're going to do this for both FanDuel and for DraftKings. And one of the things that, again, you could consider doing on a slate like this is backload your exposures as much, where possible, because as we kind of went over, this Philly news could happen after lock. This San Antonio, this Miami thing, Atlanta, could happen after lock. This Cade Cunningham thing could happen after lock. And all those things could really impact, what you want to do. So I talk about this a lot about if there's something to be gained by being flexible, by saving for the later games, just because you can't really quantify it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. So what we're going to do is try to quantify it a little bit. But let's first run these as normal. So if we ran these just kind of as normal, we'd be getting 90% Victor Wembanyama, actually. And then Nick Richards, Klay Thompson, Malik Monk, pretty much all of the guys that we mentioned. Yeah, I'll show you right now, David, what we're doing. So the first thing we did, it's kind of important, is we set the standard for large slate. So this is when we're just looking at it from Sabre score perspective. Sabre score, just large slate. But what we're going to do, first let's save it to the contest. And the reason you don't have to do it this way, because this information is available within SaberSim anyway, but I like to do it this way. So these are the tournaments I'm playing, and then I right-click on each one, add the contest sim, and you'll see here it selects this field of lineups that it's going to select from, and it says high stakes MME, and it's a pretty good, that's a good field to select, honestly. And then fade away when you click add contest sim, flagship MME, so it's a kind of a different field of lineups that it's comparing yourself to. So when you run your contest sim, okay, we've already built 5,000 lineups. Okay, so it's not like changing like the defaults. I guess what you could do, like you said, like if I didn't believe that the high stakes MME was a better field to compare my 888 to, then I would change it. But I don't think I have that skill. You know, I don't think that my opinion of that should override the SaberSim defaults. I just don't. In other sports where they don't have these kind of pre-back-tested fields, such as hockey, you might be forced to create your own field, like compare your own lineups to a different set of 5,000 or whatever. Ooh, this is kind of looks like it's going a little slowly here. I don't know what's going on with the contest. But for the main sports, I would just kind of go on the settings they give you. So okay, so we run the contest sim. So remember, we started with our original 5,000 lineups, and now we're comparing them to whatever contest I want, right? So let's start by doing the fadeaway. So we'll sort by risk-adjusted ROI. And you see things change a little bit, but not as much as you might think. Like here, you remember a 92% Wembanyama, or it's only giving you 86%. And it's not really giving you that many new guys. And the best I can describe this is that all sports are different. And different sports have a different, I don't want to say delta in the wrong way, but delta between the regular SaberSim builds and the contest sim adjusted builds, right? Like if you put your, for those of you who've seen me do the hockey lineup builds, if you do your regular SaberScore ranked lineups, they will have almost nothing to do with the lineups you get when you run your contest sims. But with the NBA, it's very, very similar. And there's two reasons for that, in my opinion. Number one is that NBA is usually pretty projectable, and it's usually pretty chalky. It just is. So even if you try to fade, you don't want to fade too much. Whereas baseball and hockey are so wild with respect to the outcomes that you do want to get some leverage, more leverage. And also, the way correlation works in some of these sports, like baseball and hockey, are extremely correlated, where basketball, not as much. So basketball is not going to have the same, basketball is not going to have the same discrepancy. So you're getting pretty much the same type of thing. So with the fadeaway, another thing that I will do is I will increase my min uniques, just because, again, even though I have confidence, I don't have that much confidence. So you're still getting a whole bunch of the Wembanyama here. And then I would kind of just save it this way. Now, with respect to the bigger buy-in, you're still getting a very similar type of lineup. That's the best I can describe this. And again, because NBA, whether it's because it's just naturally a chalkier sport or the lack of a big correlation metric or anything like that, that's the best way I can describe why that's happening. Okay, so let's put these in. I did put them in, so where are they? I guess download selected entries would be within contests, I guess. Download, and upload, and then we're in. Yeah, and there's a certain degree of healthiness or health involved in putting your own takes in there as well. I mean, I'll just say, but I wouldn't get too crazy. I'll also say that. So the one thing I didn't do, by the way, was I didn't artificially boost these later games, which I might end up doing later. You know, like maybe downgrade the team totals. You know, the only problem is when you do that, it'll downgrade the SaberSim projections, but not your own. So that's one thing. Maybe I could get them to fix that. Not fix it. It's either just improvements that are probably going to come down the road as things get more customized. As far as rules go, I think it might be a good idea to do something that maybe Bobby mentioned earlier. Well, he kind of alluded to this, is that usually Malik Monk and Kevin Herter don't put up ceilings together. And this is where you really have to struggle, you know, with yourself, you know, because if you do rely on the SaberSim game sims, they purportedly account for all that. You know, they purportedly they run these games, you know, thousands of times, and if they give you lineups with Herter and Monk together, then there's a reason for that. You know, but if you don't feel that way, then you could override that, and you're just kind of, you know, you're not 100% making use of the tools available to you. You are trying to put your own opinions ahead of it, and I really don't have too much of an opinion on whether you should do that. I think it's people should do less of that, but what do I know? So David Pingler is saying that we all know that Atlanta plays no defense. Well, what I would say is that those types of things are, this is my opinion, are just included in the projections. If we all know that they don't play defense, that's reflected in their defensive efficiencies, their defensive rating, and that all filters down to the projections. They don't play defense, which is why they have 127 point total, but you know, those points are spread out among all of their starters and reserves in a way that, you know, that reflects in their fantasy points. So that's my opinion on that. As far as ceiling goes, that's the other thing. I mean, if you were going to get a ceiling out of these Boston guys, I think you almost always are going to need like someone from Atlanta to have like a double ceiling, sort of. So if you're going to play, you know, Tatum, Porzingis, whoever, on the theory that, listen, Atlanta plays no defense, that's all great. But if you want to get a ceiling, and again, now we're back to what type of tournament we're in, right? If you're playing single entry, you don't need ceilings from 8 guys. You know, in the fadeaway, you do. So I think if you're going to play Tatum, think about this. Like, how does Tatum get an absolute ceiling game as a 15-point favorite? You know what I mean? The only way, I think, is that if someone from Atlanta has almost a double ceiling. And that is not factored in yet into the projections. And it's not factored into the sims. And there's some people who actually say that the sims are now proving that is not even a thing. You know, the run backs and things like that. And what makes this whole, you know, industry and puzzle fun is that there is no 100% agreed upon answer. Anyway, that's pretty much all that I have. I'm going to go. I have to, you know, get a little something to drink or whatever. And then I'm going to be back at like 1 o'clock to do golf. But you know what? Before I do that, I'm here anyway, right? Let's do FanDuel. And with FanDuel, I'm playing 5 lineups in the jumbo, which is like a 222. I'm playing 222? No, like a 150. I'm playing 5 of those. So we're going to see what it looks like for FanDuel. Let's see. So we're only playing 5. We don't have to play that many. We'll build, you know, 500 lineups, which is more than enough. And Clyde the other night that the Sims want to play them. Ooh, do we? Okay, that was really, really quick. Okay, so here, like for example, let's just try to remember what these look like using the Sims and what they look like without. So right now, well, forget the 5 lineups. It's not a good example because anyway, Trey Jones, Herter, Barrett, same types of guys. Except here we're getting more Trey Jones, which is sort of interesting. So let's save these to the contests. I do have a FanDuel thing still built there. All right, and we'll right-click this again, add contest sim, high stakes MMA. Save that, and then we'll say run contest sim, and then we'll see what we get. And again, one thing you could do, like if you're getting too much of these first 2 games, you could X those out. Like if you're getting all this quickly, like I see, quickly Barrett, maybe I don't want to play those lineups. And you'll see here that this one only has 1. It's only got Barrett. But look at this. They really want to play Toronto today, which is really interesting. Let's make min uniques more than 1. Let's make it like 2 at least. But this is the one takeaway is that the San Antonio guy is getting all this love here. So it'd be Trey Jones, Herter, and Barrett. I would have in all 5 of my lineups. And I would just save these for now. But that is definitely something that I would consider. What is this? Is if I'm getting too much of these first games, to either X out or rerun or opt for the ones that only had 1 from that game. Like to play Barrett, Barnes, and Podol. Well, you could also argue that the opposite. In other words, you could argue that if you're going to take your shot with these early games and say, you know what, screw these late ones, why not just play a bunch of them and just hope you really smash with these 3? This way, you know, these guys won't even be able to catch you. That's possible. These are kind of like cool looking lineups, though, right? You have 2 from one team, 2 from another, 3 from a third, you know, whatever. These look pretty neat, actually. Anyway, all right, that's all I got. I will see you guys at 1 o'clock, hopefully, for the golf. Good luck, everybody.